The story you are about to hear is a compilation of documented true facts featuring historical characters, events, or places that has played a role in shaping history. Please sit back and listen as I recite this narrative for you. David Carpenter, also known as the Trailside Killer, is an American serial killer known for stalking and murdering women on hiking trails near San Francisco, California. Carpenter had a very difficult start to life. He was physically abused as a child by his alcoholic father and domineering mother. He developed a stutter, and by the age of 7, it was so bad he was unable to socialize properly with other children. He was also forced to take part in violin lessons and ballet, which led to even more teasing by his peers. As a child, Carpenter was a bedwetter and later enjoyed torturing animals. When he was 17 years old, he was arrested and convicted for the molestation of 2 young girl children who happened to be his cousins. He spent a year in prison before being released. Carpenter continued to molest children until he married in 1955. The couple had 3 children of their own, and to support the family, Carpenter would take on a variety of work, including working as a printer and salesman. He was also involved with the Coast Guard and was honorably discharged from the service. Despite being married, Carpenter frequently stalked other women, and in 1960, he lured a woman into the woods. There she was tied up with a clothesline, beaten with a hammer, and stabbed in the hand. A military patrol officer came across the scene and a gunfire exchange took place. Carpenter was shot and injured and arrested. He was convicted of assault with intent to commit murder and 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon. He was sentenced to 14 years imprisonment. While incarcerated, his wife proceeded to divorce him. Carpenter was assessed by the prison psychiatrist, and they determined he was suffering from a sociopathic personality disorder. He only served 7 years of his sentence, and on release, he found another woman and remarried. This marriage would also fail. In 1970, he was arrested for kidnapping and spent a further 7 years behind bars. After his release, he was a suspect in the notorious Zodiac murders, although he was eventually cleared. While awaiting his trial, Carpenter conspired with 4 other inmates at the Calaveras County Jail to break out and escape. They didn't get very far, and he was sentenced to 7 years for kidnap and robbery. He also received 2 more years for his parole violations. When he got out in May 1979, he was not listed as a sex offender, although he clearly was. Even while Carpenter continued his criminal activities, he found a way to pass as a normal, productive citizen. He took courses in computer printing at the California Trade School, graduating with a degree. Then, he got a job as a typesetter instructor at an agency affiliated with the school. He took up hiking as a hobby, but not for the same reasons most people do. He simply liked the shelter afforded in the wilderness for grabbing young women to rape and kill without being seen. From 1979 to 1980, he raped and murdered 5 women and was suspected of killing at least 2 others. He was eventually arrested and found guilty of the murders, for which he was sentenced to die in the gas chamber. He remains on San Quentin's death row. In December 2009, San Francisco police re-examined evidence from the October 21, 1979 murder of Mary Frances Benet. Benet, who had been 23 years old at the time of her murder, had been jogging at Land's End, San Francisco, when she was attacked and stabbed to death. A DNA sample obtained from the evidence was matched to Carpenter through State Department of Justice files. In February 2010, San Francisco police confirmed the match with a recently obtained sample from Carpenter. In August of 1979, Etta Kane disappeared from the park while hiking. She was found shot in the back of the head in a kneeling position. Then in March of 1980, Barbara Schwartz, 23, was found in the same position as Kane, but died of stab wounds to the chest. 26-year-old Ann Alderson was next in October when she was found shot in the head after vanishing during a jog. The police had what appeared to be an excellent suspect soon afterward when a man who lived with his mother and brother on Mount Tamalpais, was caught after killing his two family members and hid in the surrounding woods for a few days. He was soon cleared of suspicion, and the Trailside Killer continued his killings. On November 27, Shauna, 25 years old, was meant to meet with her lover at Point Reyes Park but never showed up. Her body was found in a shallow grave 2 days later. Next to her was the corpse of Diana O'Connell, who had disappeared in October. Both women had been shot in the head. Hours before these two victims were found, two more bodies were found. Richard Stowers and Cynthia Moreland had gone missing in September after telling people they were going for a hike in the park. They too had been killed execution style, with gunshots to the head. Carpenter attacked again on March 29, 1981, but this time, the location was Henry Cowell State Park near Santa Cruz. Stephen Hertel and Ellen Hansen were ambushed as they hiked, and when Carpenter said he was going to rape Hansen, she tried to warn him off. He opened fire on the couple, killing Hansen and seriously wounding Hertel. He managed to crawl for help and was able to give police a good description of Carpenter. Carpenter's next murder would be his undoing. On May 1, 1981, Heather Skaggs went missing from San Jose after telling her boyfriend she was going to buy a car from David Carpenter in San Francisco. Carpenter knew her from work and was rumored to have attempted to date the young woman. She had said she was told by Carpenter to come alone. Her body was found on May 24 in the Big Basin Redwood State Park. Police visited Carpenter following the disappearance of Heather Skaggs and noticed he resembled the description and composite sketches provided by Hertel. When Hertel was shown a lineup of mugshots, he picked out Carpenter as the man who attacked him and Hansen. Carpenter was arrested on May 14. They kept Carpenter under surveillance until Skaggs' body turned up in Big Basin State Park and he was finally arrested. When police searched Carpenter's home, they were unable to find a weapon, but they did find a witness who claimed to have sold Carpenter a .45 caliber gun, and another witness who also said he had bought a .38 revolver in June from Carpenter. The police located this weapon, and when it was tested, it was found to be the same gun that had been used in the attacks on Hertel, Hansen, and Skaggs. Carpenter went to trial in April 1984 in Los Angeles. It was an open and shut case. The evidence was indisputable, and he was found guilty of the murders of Skaggs and Hansen. He was sentenced to death. On May 10, 1988, Carpenter was found guilty of first-degree murder in a San Diego court for the killings of Richard Stowers, Cynthia Moreland, Diana O'Connell, Shauna May, and Ann Alderson. However, a few months later, the jury forewoman, Barbara Durham, revealed something that could have made a difference. She told friends that she had been aware, or became aware during the trial, of Carpenter's convictions in Los Angeles in 1984 for the Santa Cruz murders. She had concealed this fact during the trial. Judge Herbert Hoffman had to consider whether to call a mistrial and have Carpenter retried. Since he thought the evidence had been strong, it was a difficult decision. On February 21, 1989, Judge Hoffman ruled that while he believed that Carpenter was certainly guilty of the crimes, since a member of the jury had unlawfully referred to his prior conviction during discussions, he had to order a new trial. He made no secret of the fact that he considered this a travesty of justice, especially because the trial had been costly. In 1994, state prosecutors asked the California Supreme Court in San Francisco to overturn that decision since the evidence for Carpenter's guilt was overwhelming. However, the deputy state public defender insisted that the jury had been contaminated and the trial had been essentially biased and unfair. On March 6, 1995, the court refused to give David Carpenter a new trial. Justice Armand Arabian stated that it's virtually impossible to keep secrets in such cases, and he believed that the forewoman's knowledge had not unduly biased the jury. Thus, they overturned Judge Hoffman's decision. In 1997, the state Supreme Court upheld the death penalty for the Skaggs and Hansen murders, and on November 29, 1999, they also upheld Carpenter's death penalty from his second trial. 6 of the 7 judges agreed that he'd had a fair trial for the 5 Marin County murders and had been sentenced properly. As of this writing, he remains on death row in San Quintin awaiting appeals through the federal courts. At age 76, he is currently the oldest inmate there. Carpenter's was sent to San Quintin to await his execution. The appeals process is still ongoing. Hey everyone! I just wanted to express how grateful I am that you took the time to listen to my narration. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I am Twisted Mind and please enjoy the rest of your day. Salamat!